Welcome back to Deep House with Larry White at the historic home of Sam and Alfreda Maloof in Altaloma, California. Lauren Verdugo, my assistant, is here with me today as we continue to explore the wonderful artifacts found in the Maloof collection. In today's 10th episode, we'll be observing a few architectural features, including Alfreda's studio and the spiral staircase Sam created in the early 80s. Well, Lauren, this is the big treat that I was talking about, Sam's spiral staircase. He obsessed over this for just about 20 years before he actually made it. He visited Wharton Esherick in 1965.
That would make sense.
He was so blown out by Wharton's work and the staircase that Wharton had built there that he started thinking about doing one for himself.
Nice.
And anyway, in 1976, he built this beautiful room for Frida. This was her studio. She had a room in here. And you'll notice there's a loft up here for guests. He included that in the architecture. When he would have an event here, many times he'd have 10, 12 people staying over, and they were scattered throughout the entire house.
Right.
And anyway, it's just a beautiful space with that high ceiling and the loft. I've actually stayed here a number of times when I came to visit him from Santa Cruz.
So before he built this staircase, did he just have like a little ladder for people to climb up? Or?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. The building, the architecture was completed in 1976, but he didn't build the staircase until 1983.
Okay.
And originally it just had a straight down ladder that you crawled up. It was actually kind of scary.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to climb up that.
One of the beautiful features of this room, though, is for her studio, Sam built this amazing little bathroom, personal bathroom.
Oh, wow.
For Alfreda.
Cool.
And I love the way he utilized a regular sized sink, but cut away the cabinets so it opened the space
Yeah,
up.
you have all this other room.
It's really beautifully
Nice.
designed.
Yeah. I love this lighting in here, too.
Yeah.
That's similar to the kitchen.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful aspect of this area. So I think it was about 1983 he started constructing the staircase. And the thing that set it off was one of his friends showed up with a truckload of apatong. And apatong is a name of a variety of woods that grow in Southeast Asia that are totally impervious to weathering and decay and that kind of thing. They make truck beds out of it. So when this fellow showed up from San Pedro, he'd acquired it at the shipyards down there. It was used for dunnage on the freighters. And so...
What's dunnage?
Dunnage, good question.
Yeah.
That's what they put underneath large pieces of equipment and that kind of thing.
Okay, so it has to be super hardy.
So it's trash wood in their mind.
Okay.
They throw it to the side. So he acquired this, and when Sam got it, he started realizing he could use it for the staircase. I personally think, I don't know this for certain, but I personally think he waited so long because he didn't want to use his beautiful walnut to build the staircase.
Yeah.
He was very frugal with the wood, and he protected it fiercely.
Yeah.
And so this gave him an opportunity to put this piece together.
Luckily, it matches the walnut in his collection.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And you'll notice the redwood interior. The banister part of the staircase is built out of redwood because it's so pliable, and he could literally bend it around to the uprights and clamp it together as he went to make the rail. So
speaking of, is that just a bent lamination where you're just clamping and gluing as you go around?
As it went up.
Okay.
And there's 5 or 6 layers in there.
So was this already installed when he was adding the rail?
According to Mike Johnson, he built the whole thing in the shop, and there's some nice photographs of him in the process of doing that.
Right.
And if you look at it, each one of these sections was built separately. So you had a laminated step with an upright for the banister, and he attached these with these beautiful dovetails. And
those are gorgeous.
Yeah, really beautiful. And so it was designed in a way where he could drop them down over a 3-inch pipe that's embedded in the concrete. And he would put enough of them down so he got the height that he needed, and then arrange them in a pattern so it came out perfectly for the platform, the landing up on top.
Right.
So it was a really interesting way of constructing it.
Yeah.
So they built all the parts in the shop, brought it in here, put it together, and after it was all together and the banister on, and the top part, if you notice up there, that's also redwood, the pinnacle up there.
Cool.
And so then he came back in later and started carving
And sculpting all
and
this.
sculpting this one into the other.
Yeah.
And
Was this his first attempt or second attempt at building this?
this is the first.
Okay.
There's actually in the new house when we moved up here in 2001, where we built another spiral staircase down in the new house.
On the private
as
property.
well,
Yeah.
And that would be a second. Very similar in construction technique and style.
Right.
And then the detail on the end of the banister,
Yeah.
that was all done after it was put in place. And he came back in and finished that off.
Right. Very
But
cool.
Quite an effort, a beautiful piece. Well, another interesting aspect about the staircase was when he installed the staircase, Frida was evicted from her studio. She had to move her office and all her stuff over into the carport and
Right.
set up camp there. And she actually worked out of that space for about 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, he got to build a staircase, but it cost Frida her beautiful studio.
Yeah. This is a beautiful studio.
Yeah.
I'd love to be here all the time.
And
That's for sure.
originally this wall went all the way through. The room back in there was the original carport.
Okay.
And well, actually it wasn't the original, it was the second carport, the one he built after he included the first one into the house.
Right.
And so these two rooms were separate, these two buildings. So it wasn't until much later that he added this beautiful breezeway in to connect it to the house.
And that would have been another guest bedroom place for people to stay.
That's what he turned it into. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I've actually stayed in that
Oh,
room
cool.
as well.
You've been in every single nook and cranny
Well,
of this place over the
we
course
were
of
good
being
friends.
here.
They came to visit. So anyway, this room represents the first expansion of the original add-on, which was the master bedroom in '65.
Right.
So this is the first expansion from that of the house. And then later on, we'll talk more about the mezzanine and the gallery upstairs and those kind of
Right.
architectural features. The treehouse room, those all came about in the mid to late '80s. And so
Yeah.
this was the beginning of a move forward. And I think it may, ultimately, the staircase and what came after were triggered by Sam winning the MacArthur Fellowship.
Which also might coincide with him getting funding for expansion,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Sam
You
was
know.
really excited about doing this because he really wanted to do something sculptural, really sculptural.
Yeah.
And so this is an architectural feature that he went all out on.
Well, not to mention all these artists, craftsman homes, that, all these people that are making their own houses, they all have an artistic spiral staircase,
Right.
Even the Eames have one, right? Every artist has one, so I'm glad Sam got to join in
I
that
have an
fun.
interesting one. It's called Early American Woodpile.
Yeah, wood piles, always.